Hey, welcome back to Clint Street Machines. I'm Clint, and today we're talking about rear brakes for our S10. It may seem a little odd to be talking about rear brakes when we don't even have anything on a frame or any kind of a vehicle to put them on yet, but the reality is we need to know some of the measurements off of our rear brakes in order to make sure that when I set up my rear differential, I get the correct length axles and things like that to make them all work. All right, so when it comes to brakes, we got a couple options, right? We know we're going to use a manual brake system, no hydro boost, no vacuum assist, and that's because we're trying to keep this thing very simple and lightweight. So I still need a parking brake though in the back. The problem is if I lose hydraulic pressure, like if I lose a brake line or something and all my fluid comes out of the vehicle, I lose all my brakes, both parking brake, emergency brake, and regular brakes. So I need a mechanical system on the vehicle to help stop it if I lose all my hydraulics. Now, originally I was going to run 75 Corvette stuff, and that's because in the 75 Corvette you could get four-wheel disc brakes with a manual master cylinder. Took me a second there. Thinking too far ahead. So yeah, you can get a manual master cylinder that's matched to those calipers, and they're 4-piston calipers front and rear, if I recall. I'm pretty sure they are. That would be sweet and that would work, but it uses a drum brake parking brake. Other option for a rear parking brake is a caliper on a rotor that has a mechanical lever on it with a cable hooked to it that actually applies the brake when you pull the e-brake handle. Now, like I said, that doesn't have as much clamping force as the drum would. I think that it works good enough. I mean, they use those type of systems on a lot of vehicles from the factory, and the system we ended up using is from a factory vehicle. So let's have a look at that stuff and let's see what it's all about. Okay, now there's a lot of brake kits I could have bought that'll bolt right up to a Ford 9-inch and have a parking brake provision. But those kits are all $500 to $600, and they come with a lot of extra parts, and a lot of those at that price point have a drum brake style parking brake instead of this style, which is right on the caliper itself. And well, there's a reason I decided not to go that way. One, I didn't want to spend $600 on rear brakes. Two, I'm concerned about unsprung weight. I don't want the vehicle to be any heavier than it needs to be, and I know that a drum style parking brake, which is where the brake rotor would have a drum here, and you would have a set of brake shoes and a wheel cylinder and springs and all that stuff in here, just like an old school drum brake on the back of most cars. And then the rotor itself would have a caliper like this with no brake provision that would just operate as a regular brake caliper. The reason I didn't want to go with that setup is I want to keep it simple. That's a lot of extra moving parts that we don't necessarily need, that hopefully we never need. I hope I don't ever really need to use this as an emergency brake. That's where the drum would be much, much better. It's able to absorb a lot more heat and put a lot more clamping force on this thing than just ratcheting out this thing. I'll show you how that works in a second. So it's a lot of extra weight for all those extra parts, plus a lot of extra parts that can go bad. It's just more to mess with and a little more weight, a little more complicated. And I'm trying to keep it really simple here. So we decided to go with this style, which is an integrated parking brake. The way this works is when you yank on this lever, just like a throttle lever, you put a cable through here, it grabs here and pinches this closed. There's a spiral pattern on the rod that this piston's sitting on, and it mechanically pushes the piston out to clamp on the brake. So it's not real good for stopping the vehicle if I'm doing like 100 miles an hour and grab the e-brake. It's not going to do a lot, but it's plenty to keep the car from rolling down the hill when you park it. And like I said, it keeps everything simple and a lot lighter. This weighs almost nothing. Also, this looks a little smaller than what you see in the kits. The kits use a metric GM, which is a pickup truck brake off the rear, and it's got a much bigger caliper on it, with probably a bigger piston, but I don't know for sure. Haven't done that homework. But all those kits come with a little narrower brake. They're all about 10.5 or 11. This is actually an 11.6. It's not as thick. This is only 3/4 of an inch thick as opposed to 1 inch like a lot of the brake kits would have in it. So it's a little less material. Again, it's a little lighter, so I'm okay with that. But it may not be as robust at dissipating heat and things like that. But we can always upgrade this later with drilled and slotted rotors and better pads and that kind of stuff. Now, so as far as the calipers are concerned, this is off an 03 Cobra, Mustang Cobra. So they're the only ones that have the vented brake. And they have a caliper that looks just like this that comes with the Cobra. But since we're running big tires on the back of this thing, and little skinnies up front. We don't want your standard brake bias you would have like on a Mustang Cobra. We're gonna want more brake on the back than most cars would normally run. So what I'm gonna do is upgrade, and the upgrade for the Cobra when you go to big brakes on the front is to go to this Ford Taurus caliper. This may or may not be the same as a Lincoln Town Car. Someone was telling me after the fact, but this number here, 43, is the size of the piston. The factory Cobra piston is 38, and this one is 5 millimeters bigger in diameter, which gives it more clamping force. So I upgraded the caliper to the Taurus. Now, the thing about that is, and I didn't know until I ordered it, the bracket that comes with the caliper for the Taurus, because I need the bracket too, so I can make mounts, it doesn't fit on the rotor. Let me do this where, so I'm using all the wrong hands to show you guys stuff. So this won't fit over the rotor because the Taurus uses a solid rotor, not a vented rotor. So I ordered it and I thought, well, crap, does that mean this distance is too small to run the Taurus? I did a little more homework and I was able to order the bracket for the actual Cobra, which as you can see is only different in regards to, it's got this extra tie bar here to kind of reinforce this, but it's also wider here and it fits over the rotor just fine. And what the trick is, I found out, that the Mustang guys already knew, is the pads. You got to run Cobra pads. I had ordered Taurus pads, which are here. I ordered Taurus pads, and when I installed them in here and looked at the measurement, the rotor wouldn't fit between the pads. And that's why I was unsure if I had the right calipers or not. But this is the factory pad off of the Taurus. And this is the pad off the Cobra. And as you can see, if I put the friction surfaces like this against each other, this is a much taller pad on the Ford Taurus. So what Ford did basically, in order to accommodate this wider rotor using the same caliper, they just went to thinner pads. So we got the right pads now. It all actually fits together and lines up. And using these brackets is going to be the bee's knees. So yeah, let's get this stuff mocked up on the wheel. I need to make sure this caliper, when it's bolted into this bracket, is going to clear, sorry. I got to make sure that this caliper and bracket assembly, when properly located on the rotor, is going to clear the wheel. Because we're only running 15-inch wheels and this is an 11.6-inch rotor. So let's get the tire off of the truck, let's get it over here on the table, and let's put this stuff in place. All right. All right, so as we can see, well, we may not be able to see it, but there's a pretty good amount of room down in here. I can get my whole finger down in there between the bracket, and we got enough room there to clear wheel weights too. So, and that's probably sticking out a little farther than it will be. It'll probably be more like that anyway. So I think we've got plenty of room to get these brakes in there. They don't stick out too far this way either. I was really worried about that because, you know, we're going to have, because of how narrow our rear diff is, our mounting brackets are going to be pretty much right in this area. So for our ladder bars. So I'll have to orient this in the right spot to clear everything. But yeah, I think we're good. I think we're real good. All right, and one other thing I wanted to point out here that I didn't talk about a second ago is if you look at where this is, this wouldn't clear the wheel. So if I didn't have this deep dish wheel, and this was actually set way down towards the middle of the wheel, this bleeder right here and maybe this brake hose would probably be too close to this rim because it would be down there somewhere. It probably would not fit. So one advantage to having these deep dish wheels is that it pulls this caliper out away from the wheel more. So the stuff out here, this cable, all this other stuff we have to hook up, that stuff's not going to give us a problem with clearing the wheel. So it's kind of nice that most of the caliper, probably 50% of that caliper, is actually outside the wheel. So that's kind of a win. All right, so as you can see, we have measured our rotors. And because we did that, we know how thick they are, which is 1/4 inch each. So we have to take a 1/2 inch off our width, but we'll get into the numbers later. But we know how thick our rotors are now. It's an important number we're going to need. We now know what size axle flange diameter we can run because we've measured our rotors, and we know how big the hub in the center of the axle needs to be to support the rotor, as we were able to measure that as well. So now that we got the brakes we need, we've got the measurements we need, we can go ahead and finish filling out our order form and start thinking about getting our axles and housing ends and bearings and all the other stuff in that we need to complete our rear housing. I'll probably end up going with Mosier, but since PRI is coming up, that's the Performance and Racing Industry Show. For those of you who don't know, Mosier and a lot of the other axle makers will probably be there. So I might just wait and talk to those guys at the show, compare product, talk to them, see who's, you know, more interested in giving me the information I don't have, see who's going to give me a better price. Do a little comparison, basically, between the different brands while I'm at PRI, and then I'll probably order something after the show. Since it's only 3.5 weeks away, I didn't really want to wait, but we might. So I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, or share. And thanks a bunch. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourself.